Have you ever given yourself a pep talk in the mirror right before something scary and it just didn't work? You know the one. You've got these. You are so ready. You look good. You sound good. Let's go. And then you walk into the room, or you hit send on the email, or you just pick up the phone and your whole body completely ignores everything that you just told it. Your hands are still shaking. Your voice still comes out slightly too high. And you think, wait, I just told myself I was confident. Why didn't it listen? I've done that so many times, I've genuinely lost count. Full speeches to myself in the bathroom mirrors, in the car park before school runs, before hard conversations, before hitting publish on things that terrified me, like this video. And for the longest time, I thought that the problem was that I wasn't saying the right words. Like there was some perfect combination of affirmations out there that would finally make my nervous system believe me. You know what's interesting though? I don't think that's actually the problem at all. I think we've been told confidence is a feeling you access, like there's a little switch somewhere inside of you. And if you just think the right thoughts hard enough, the switch flips and suddenly you will feel ready. But here's the question that has been sitting with me. If confidence really is just a feeling that you can talk yourself into, why does it fail so consistently for so many genuinely capable people at the exact moments that they need it most? Why do people who have done the hard thing 100 times still feel their stomach drop the 101st time? I don't think it's because the pep talk was bad. I think it's because we've been aiming at the wrong target entirely. And the question actually showed up for me long before I ever picked up a camera. Years ago, before any of the marriage, before any of this rebuilding that I'm doing, I was a flight attendant. And I remember the first time that I worked an entire cabin completely on my own. I had done the training, the customer relationship management, the flight safety procedures, the emergency drills, all of it over and over until it felt like it should have finally have been automatic. And I remember standing at that cabin door before boarding, giving myself the same exact pep talk. You've got this. You've trained for this. You are ready. But my body did not care. I ran the worst case scenarios in my head before we had even pushed back. I scanned every exit like I would be quizzed on it any second. And every single time a passenger just got up and walked towards the lavatory, some tiny part of me tensed like something was about to go terribly wrong. I smiled the entire flight because that's what I was supposed to do. But on the inside, I was shaking. And what's funny is nobody really failed me for that. Nobody pulled me aside afterwards and said that you didn't feel ready enough. Try again next week. They cleared me because the hours and the drills and the evaluations had already accumulated into something real, whether my stomach had gotten the memo or not. And you know what's interesting? I've talked to so many people since then, and it's never just me. My friends tell me the same thing before any job interviews, before their first dates, before difficult conversations with their own kids. People who are, by every visible measure, extremely capable, standing in their own bathrooms, giving themselves the same kind of speeches that do not land. This whole industry built about convincing you that the right affirmation said with enough conviction will finally make you ready. And I've started wondering if maybe the entire premise was just wrong. So I went looking for an explanation because at this point, I was honestly a little obsessed with just figuring out why pep talks just keep failing perfectly capable people. And that's when I came across the work of a psychologist named Albert Bandura, who spent decades studying something called self-efficacy, which is basically your own belief in your ability to handle a specific challenge. And here's the part that stopped me. He found that the single strongest predictor of that belief wasn't encouragement at all. It wasn't even positive self-talk. It wasn't even talent. It was something called mastery experience, which is just a fancy way of just saying that the accumulated memory of having done hard things and actually gotten through them. Affirmations barely moved the needle in his research. Actual evidence is what did. Which means that every time I stood in that mirror trying to talk myself into a feeling, I was just skipping the only step that ever actually builds it. And I didn't fully understand how much that mattered until years later in a completely different chapter of my life. I remember sitting in a lawyer's office, signing papers I never thought I would sign in my life. And somewhere in the middle of that, some quiet part of me reached backward into a file I didn't even know I had been keeping. I had done a genuinely terrifying thing once, alone, shaking on the inside, smiling on the outside, and gotten through it. And that evidence didn't make the divorce easy. It didn't erase a single hard moment, but it meant that I wasn't starting from absolute zero because I had proof, buried in a completely unrelated chapter of my life, that I could survive something frightening and still be standing on the other side of it. And it happened again. Honestly, the first time I posted a video online, I did not feel confident hitting upload. I felt slightly sick. And even being fully honest with you, certain that people watching would see straight through me. But by then, I had already collected enough evidence to know something very important. That sick feeling just right before doing hard things was not actually reliable information. It was just whether it was going to pass, whether I trusted it or not. And posting became one more entry in a file that keeps getting longer every single week. I keep showing up in this rebuilding journey. So here's what I think we've completely gotten backwards. And this is the part that genuinely changed how I move through hard things now. We treat the fear before doing something as a signal to wait. Like the discomfort is telling you something true about whether you are ready or not. But I don't think the discomfort is a verdict at all. I think it's just the sensation of doing something that your nervous system doesn't have evidence for yet. And the only way to get that evidence is doing the thing scared. Collect the proof and let the feeling of confidence show up afterwards as a result and not as a precondition. I've actually started thinking of it less like a feeling and more like a file, an evidence file. Every hard thing that you do scared becomes a deposit into it, whether you notice it happening or not. And some entries feel so small at the time, like walking on a flight alone, posting something that terrifies you, having one hard conversation you didn't think you'd survive. But that file doesn't stay small. And here's the thing that nobody tells you about. It doesn't just sit there quietly. It reaches back for you exactly when you need it. Sometimes years later, in a completely different emergency than the one where you built it. So if you are standing in front of your own mirror right now, waiting to feel ready before you post the thing, before you start the business, before you have the conversation, before you leave the situation that isn't working anymore, I don't think the feeling is coming first. I think it's coming after, once your file is thick enough that your nervous system finally believes you without needing the pep talk at all. You are not behind because you don't feel confident yet. You are just early in building the file. And every single hard thing that you do scared now is proof that outlasts the moment you did it. Sometimes reaching back into your file exactly when you need it most. Maybe that's actually the real difference between people who seem naturally confident and the rest of us. Maybe they didn't feel less scared or afraid. Maybe they just had a weaker file, built one terrifying, ordinary moment at a time. The same way anyone's file gets built. If that's true, then confidence was never something that you were either born with or without. It's just something that you are building right now in this exact hard season, whether it feels like it or not. And I think that's actually what this whole channel is for, even being honest, not teaching you how to feel ready, because I don't think that's really something that anyone can ever teach you, but helping you build that file anyway, one shaking, terrified, and glamorous entry at a time, until one day you look back and realize that the file was the confidence the entire time. I'll see you in the next video.